I'm Christine Cushing and welcome to another helping of My Favorite Foods. This no-fail butter-only pastry is tender and delicate, and it's going to bring out the baker in anyone, novice or experienced. And it's going to generate huge applause from anyone who tastes it. Friends, family, they're going to be lining up. Let's go. Now, the key to any turnover pie, for that matter, is all in the pastry for me. And if you watch this channel a lot, you know that I'm all about the details, and those details lead to your success. So here, I don't want you to skip the little steps that are going to take you, if you're already experienced, way up here. And if you're a novice, it's going to make people say, "Did you make this turnover?" It's unbelievable. That's what we want to do in this video. Now for that amazing pastry I've been promising you. Normally, pastry will say all-purpose flour. What I do is I use 3/4 all-purpose flour plus 1/4 pastry flour. That pastry flour has a lower protein, so it's going to give me that nice tender texture without being too soft or too firm. It's perfect. And I love giving you all these details, so please subscribe so you can be first to get notifications on upcoming videos, so we can spend more time in the kitchen, all right? Now to the pastry. In preparation for my pastry, I want to put some ice cubes in my water to ensure it's super cold. And my butter here, I'm just like to slice it super thinly, and then I'm putting it onto a piece of parchment, and that's going to go in the freezer until I get everything else ready. That ensures a really cold and beautiful pastry. I'm adding some sugar here, just a little bit of salt, and I want to blend this together. The sugar is just going to give me a bit of color. And now the butter is nice and cold, and I'm ready to mix. I'm just using a fork to make sure that all the butter is covered in flour. Now I switch to my pastry cutter. I just want to blend that butter down until it's fairly small. It's not going to start coming together, but really you want the butter pieces to be small. And because I'm making a small amount here, I want to make sure I get all the butter out of my pastry cutter. Now again about the details, by adding this little 1/2 teaspoon, so 2.5 milliliters of apple cider vinegar, again it helps to soften the proteins. So it's going to make for a more tender crust. Another important detail, I don't blend the vinegar with the water in case it doesn't take all the water. So I'm going to add these two, and I'm reserving about 1/4 of that water just to see what's happening here. And then I listen to my bowl. You hear how there's a little bit of flour in the bottom. I know that it's too dry, so I'm going to continue to add the remainder of my water. And just bring it all together. Again, I haven't touched it with my hands. Making sure I scrape every little bit because this is a small amount of pastry. It's important to work quickly but delicately. It seems like an oxymoron, but you do it quickly with a light touch, and you don't want to keep holding on to that pastry. The warmth of your hands is going to melt out the dough, and then you're going to be like, what happened? But if you follow my lead here, it's going to be perfect. To ensure that ideal pastry that I'm talking about, I use my rolling pin and not my hands to flatten the dough. So I refrain from going into a ball. I like to flatten it, and that ensures that I'm going to get a nice flaky pastry. Fold it into a letter here, again, creating a little bit more lamination or layers. Look at that. No big chunks of butter, just beautiful blending of that butter. Now again, I'm going to make sure that it's cold and rested. So 1 hour at least in the fridge. Now for the apples. Don't underestimate the difference that any apple can make. So depending on which apple you're going to choose, that's going to be the personality of your turnover. The biggest thing to keep in mind is it should be a baking apple. So here I have a Northern Spy, that's in my neck of the woods, or this second one, which is a Mutsu. But if I put my finger down, you'll see that it does not give. So if I can leave a dent in the apple, that means it's too soft for baking. The size that I dice my apples, also very important. I want it very small, so no more than 1/2 inch, maybe even a little bit less, so I can maximize the amount of apple as my filling. Now, baking can be totally frustrating until you figure out the why and the how. You might be going, why is this happening? What did I do wrong? Why is it not working? Why doesn't it look like it is in the picture? And this is all about those little details. But once you succeed, it really is just such a feeling of accomplishment. That's what we're here for, right? Now I transfer to a parchment and into the fridge until I get my filling finished. I want to keep that pastry cold. Now for the filling. It's super simple. There's not a lot of ingredients to hide behind here, so everything you want to use, good quality. Now back to the apple filling. Just a small amount of sugar here. It's probably 45 ml, 3 tablespoons of sugar, just about a tablespoon of cornstarch to bind it, and just a hint of cinnamon, maybe 1/2 teaspoon. And now I blend this all together, and that's it. Now this little trick with the plum butter, I usually use apple butter, but it can be more challenging to find. There's no butter in it, it's just a concentration of fruit puree. So most of the moisture has evaporated, you get that concentration of the fruit, and it really protects the bottom of the dough from getting too soggy. So I love using this technique, it's a winner. This egg wash is huge because it's really going to seal in the juices. That can be a little tricky part here. And when I fold over the dough, because it's nice and cold, I can now touch it. I want to make sure I press down and distribute those apples snugly. You see how I'm pressing right down to see if I can seal it? Now with the fork. This is the satisfying bit. Make sure it's all sealed. Ooh, I got a little hole there. Let's see if that's problematic. And as a last little precaution to make it nice and neat, I go in with my pasta cutter just to make it super perfect. For the glaze, it's just a mixture of icing, sugar, and a touch of water. You want to play with it a bit until you get this consistency. Quite a thick pancake, well, even more than a pancake batter. How cool is this little glaze? I really wanted to make it like it was when I was a kid, that I would make these out of a package. So I'm just going to glaze them just for fun, really. Look at this cool little pattern. Seriously, is that not a thing of beauty? It's the perfect composition. So it has just enough filling. The smell is incredible. That cinnamon, the sweetness from the apples, and that buttery pastry. I can't wait to cut into this. Come on, look at it. Incredible. Salivation is happening. Oh, you hear that? And now for the big reveal. Oh man, beauty. Okay, if you're not running, I mean running to see the recipe, make it right now, you're making a big mistake. So incredible, not too sweet. That pastry is so tender and buttery, and you really taste the apples. It's this perfect balance. Thank you for joining me on another helping of My Favorite Foods. Let me know what's happening in your kitchen. Please share, like, and subscribe. I want to grow this channel, want to really continue to have fun, connect with you in your kitchen. Thank you so much. See you next time.